everybody, this is Shayna Hiller from Build Your Personal Yoga Business. And today I'd like to talk about the different styles of yoga that you may consider teaching as a new or an existing current yoga teacher. So this is a question that I got from one of you, several of you, and I just want to discuss, many of you may know this already, but the basics. And there's a little bit extra that I want to provide that may shed some inspiration and insight as you creatively grow your yoga business. So some of the more popular styles of yoga in the West include Vinyasa Yoga. Vinyasa Yoga is linking breath to movement. It's sometimes referred to as flow or Hatha flow. Hatha Yoga is using postures like triangle pose, warrior pose, downward facing dog, all those more prominent postures that you'll see if you Google yoga or if you think of, a typical yoga class. Hatha Yoga is basically just the postures. Hatha means sun and moon. Ha, sun, ta, moon. It's that bridge, which is yoga. But Hatha Yoga in and of itself, like if you go to a Hatha Yoga class, it's usually just postures, one by one, and not necessarily linked with vinyasas, like chaturanga, up dog, down dog. That is where the flow comes in, where you're gracefully moving from one posture to the next. That's vinyasa, which was really adapted from several different lineages, but also Vini Yoga, V-I-N-I Yoga, is similar to Vinyasa Yoga, but with smaller movements, not as grandiose as Vinyasa, which was derived from Ashtanga Yoga. So see, this is how it can get confusing. But it's important. It's important to know the lineage and where things come from. So Vinyasa Yoga, which is also called flow yoga and sometimes called power yoga. Power yoga is always vinyasa. Vinyasa is not necessarily always power. Power yoga is vinyasa yoga, flow yoga with some added strength elements, right? Like extra chaturangas, extra core work. Maybe it moves at a quicker pace. It should never move too quick though, because you always want to be able to link it with the breathing. It doesn't mean that every single posture is moving, right? Because there will be holding postures in the practice, but there's sun salutations, they're woven together with a vinyasa in between. All vinyasa yoga, whether it's power yoga, slow flow vinyasa yoga, regular intermediate vinyasa yoga, is a derivative of Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is also taught at some studios and usually by teachers who have specific credentials, which are very, very hard to get, but Ashtanga is an actual set sequence of 5 sun salutation A, 5 sun salutation B. I mean, I was an Ashtanga junkie and still secretly am, even though I don't practice it as religiously as I used to because it kind of hurt me, but I still love the way Ashtanga made me feel really, really, really strong. It's a super masculine practice, but it's really good if you want some focus, clarity, and a really solid body. So Ashtanga Yoga is much more traditional. An Ashtanga class is usually at least 2 hours. Sometimes there's no teacher. You actually practice on your own, and there'll be a teacher in the room. It's called Mysore Ashtanga Yoga, and they're just kind of there to watch you. You come in, you do your practice, they'll help you here and there, but you're in charge because it's a set sequence. There's also Bikram Yoga, which is another set sequence that's done in a warm room. Actually, forget that. It's done in a hot room, a burning hot room. Bikram class is 90 minutes. It's also more traditional, and it follows a set sequence. Bikram Yoga is technically Hatha Yoga. It's not Vinyasa. In fact, you're not going to do one chaturanga, you're not going to do one downward facing dog in Bikram. And a traditional Bikram class, actually you will be repeating each posture twice. So there's no music, it's really intense, it's a really good practice if you have trouble focusing, if you want to cleanse your body, if you're a beginner and you want to learn the basics of the postures, if you like being yelled at, just kidding, kind of. I did Bikram for many years, and every now and then I'll run into a Bikram class, or if I'm traveling and there's no other options, I'll do a Bikram class. But again, there's different styles of yoga for different moods, at least from my experience, and for different types of bodies and desires and even physical reasons. So then we have Yin Yoga. Yin Yoga is slow You'll hold each posture for 3 to 5 minutes. It's usually done mostly sitting down or lying down. And this is to unravel the fascia, the various muscle tissue in the body, so that energy can flow more efficiently. It's really good for people who do a lot of high impact sports or athletics, or people who are looking for less anxiety and stress. And a simple way to get into yoga. Actually, Yin is becoming so popular here in LA, and it is really exciting to me that that's happening, because it's a lot more about slowing down the feminine aspect and receptivity, so, and surrender. So Yin is wonderful, and you're going to be doing Hatha yoga postures in a Yin class, but each one will be for a very long time. Yin it kind of borders on restorative yoga, but restorative yoga and Yin yoga, the main difference is that with restorative yoga, you're using a lot of props such as blankets, bolsters, straps, and blocks to let the body sink into gravity and completely relax. So in Yin yoga, you'll probably be breathing a little bit deeper and feeling a little bit more strain or tension or stretch in your muscles and your tissue. In restorative yoga, you're going to feel like you're laying in a bed and chilling in the best way possible. Like, imagine something that feels better than laying in your bed. That's restorative yoga. So if you Google restorative yoga, you'll see lots of different props. You can actually do teacher trainings just for restorative yoga, because it's important to know how to use the props. It's different than just using a block in a triangle pose or a half moon pose. There's so many different ways of positioning your body for restorative yoga. So that's restorative Yin. We got so much. Let's see, Kundalini yoga. Kundalini is different. Kundalini is not Hatha. So everything else I've been saying so far is basically under the umbrella of Hatha yoga. Kundalini, it's all connected. Kundalini is a variety of different breath work and kriyas, different types of repetitive movements, sometimes done for up to 11, if not more minutes, repeating the exact same movement back and forth to really purify the entire system and to connect us with our inherent light and abundance. It is magical. If you've never done Kundalini, if you're intimidated or curious or weirded out by Kundalini, do it. I love Kundalini. I did Kundalini strictly for many years and wanted to become a Kundalini teacher. I still may do a Kundalini training at some point. I weave various elements of different kriyas into my teaching, and it's a wonderful way to purify the body and the mind and to open the heart. So Kundalini is wonderful. It's different. It's a lot more breath work. You kind of don't know what you're going to get when you go. So if you're looking for like a physical workout, you may get one and you may be sitting the whole time. So it's really more of a spiritual practice in my opinion. And I just had something else. Okay, Kundalini and Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is interesting. It's more so of a path of yoga than it's a style of yoga. But if you go to a Bhakti Yoga class, chances are you're going to be chanting, right? Like kirtan. So there may be harmoniums involved. And a Bhakti Yoga class is probably going to be either just chanting, sitting and chanting, or if you read the description, it can also include movement like vinyasa or hatha yoga. There's a studio here in LA that's a Bhakti Yoga studio, the Bhakti Yoga Shala, and I love it because they've got chanting and vinyasa yoga and meditation all in the same class. So I really love to weave that into my teaching as well. So we've got Bhakti, we've got Kundalini, we've got Yin. I'm trying to just describe the main yogas that exist. Now obviously we have beginners yoga, right? Beginner yoga or basics, that's still basic Hatha yoga postures. Just done slower or one by one to really break everything down. If you're a new yoga teacher or if you're considering teaching yoga, teach beginners, teach basics, because there are so many power yoga teachers and vinyasa teachers, including myself. I'm not saying don't teach vinyasa, but if you're feeling stuck or like, oh my gosh, the market's fully saturated, a lot of people are looking for basics. They're intimidated to go to an intermediate class, a level 2 or a level 3 class. So there's a big market for beginners. Big market. Okay, so this is like the basics of the styles of yoga. If you have more questions, leave a question or a comment below and I'll respond to them with more. I know there are more styles of yoga out there. I'm just trying to break down the basics, study on your own, go into the traditionality of it, because yoga is becoming so popular and it's very easy for these things to kind of get mixed up, like yoga lattes and yoga with weights, and that is not traditional, and I really only teach what's traditional. So I'm trying to think way more in the line of actual yoga as a spiritual practice and a physical practice, without it getting like too modern and too kind of discombobulated, so we can maintain the integrity of this ancient practice and thrive both in our own practice and as teachers and leaders sharing this wisdom. So thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Leave me a question below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video. Namaste.